Hey guys, thanks for joining. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite tools in Affinity Designer, and that is symbols. First, what is a symbol? Here you can see how symbols are working. In the upper row I have a group of objects, and in the lower row I have a symbol of objects. And now if I make a copy out of the group of objects and change something, then this change is just reflected in this group. But if I now go to symbol and copy paste the symbol, make a change to the symbol, this change is reflected in all of the symbols, and this is really just like magic. Now let's look at a real world example. On the right hand side you can see a pattern that I created recently, and this pattern actually consists out of these elements. This element is aligned here and a little bit rotated to give this overall look. But what happens now if I want to change, for example, the color for this top row of dots? I would have to go in here, select all of these dots, also over here and there, wherever it is. And this is really a nightmare of work, yeah. But Affinity Designer makes it much easier with symbols. So if I right now look into this basic element, and you can see this is actually a symbol. And this symbol contains an array of other symbols. And each of the symbol represents one line of dots. And what happens if I want to change the color of this dot, for example? I click here. This is the most top dot. I change the color. And since all of the rows are symbols, this is reflected for all of the symbols. And in the end, eventually it's also in the design. And this is of course really great. It's not really restricted just to color. You can also change, for example, the size. So if I go in here once again, click here, I can also change the size. And this is also something that is directly reflected, not just in this example, but also in the whole pattern. So now I want to show you how you can make your own symbols. First, you need the Symbols tab somewhere open. If you don't see yours, go to View, Studio, and look out for Symbols. And Symbols has three options. It has Create, Detach, and Sync. And first I want to show you how to create. So this is the hexagon that I have shown you in the previous example. And this hexagon has lines of dots, and I want to make a symbol out of this line of dots. So first I want to show you how it is wrong. If you select all the dots and click Create, then you have now a symbol for each of the individual dots. But actually I want to have the whole line as a symbol. So I go back, and what you have to do, you have to group it first. I press Ctrl G. You see it's a group out of the individual circles. And with the group selected, I click Create. And now you can see the whole line of dots is a symbol. So let's copy that line of dots into the hexagon. So, and with Ctrl G, I can copy it and copy it all over the design. It's a little bit misaligned, but for now this is not important. So I copy paste, flip the direction, put it over here, remove the duplicate, and this is our basic unit for the design. As you have seen before, if I change the circle now, this is reflected in all of the symbols that I have copied. And the same is for the color. I will not demonstrate that again, but this is now working. However, I want actually that the whole element is also a symbol. So I mark the polygon, go to Create, and here we go. We have the whole hexagon as a symbol. And with drag and drop, I can now place more of these symbols into my design. Or I can also just go with copy paste. It doesn't make any difference at all. And as before, if I have polygon selected, changing the color will reflect this color change in all the other symbols also. But what happens, for example, if I want to change just one object? So I want to change this hexagon and want to change the color, for example. If I right now would go for green, yeah, it will be changed for all the others. Let's go back to red. Here we have the option about syncing. And if you disable the sync, I will do it now. And then if you change the color, you see, for example, to some greenish again, this color change is now not reflected on the other symbols. This is now really just for this one. And if I turn on the sync now, I can still change the color and this is not reflected anymore at all. But if you look, for example, at other properties like like the size, okay, we have to go to the polygon. If I change from the polygon the size, this is still reflected. Or if I rotate or whatever I do, this is still reflected. It's just the color change that is not reflected anymore. And with that you can individualize your objects, but still keep the sync or yes, the propagation of your properties in place. And this is a really great option. So what happens if you press detach? If you press detach, the symbol will turn into a group and you will lose the whole syncing. So let's press detach. And you see it's a group now. And whatever I do to the polygon now, yeah, like resizing, this is not affecting the other hexagons anymore. But there's no way back now, and that's it. Here I want to show you another example where symbols are really helpful. And in this case I have a pattern and I have a tile pattern. And this tile pattern is nothing else than just a copy of the small tiles over this 2x2 square. And this is a symbol, and also these are all symbols. And as you have seen before, if I change, for example, the color of this one to yellow, this is now reflected also in my tile pattern. I don't have to do that individually in the tile pattern, but this is automatically done. And this is a great tool if you want to see how your small pattern, you can work in this artboard, how this is reflected in a bigger scope. For example, in this case, you see that the dots are building up a line. And now I could say, yeah, I will just rearrange the dots and the line is gone. So this is really great and helpful to get the bigger picture. And now I want to show you how you can make your own tile pattern out of symbols. Now I want to show you how you can make your own tile pattern and pattern artboard. Now you see this pattern artboard is empty and it's 5000 by 5000, while the tile pattern artboard is 10,000 by 10,000. So the small one fits in 2 by 2. And let's start with a container. So this is the size of our pattern. And first I will go here and make it totally transparent. And now let's also make an additional element in here. This one is colored, black one. And if I now make out of that one, I place the rectangle into my container. This is called a container. I can make out of this container a symbol. And now I can move the symbol over here, copy paste it. And now I have 4 symbols in my tile pattern. And you can imagine if I now change something here, this is directly reflected in the other symbols. And now I can make a line and move it whatever you want. And this is a really great tool to have your small pattern over here. This is where you can work with, and still you can see how this type pattern will work like. For example, in this case, you would see now there's some misalignment that you have to resolve. So I hope this was helpful for you. And if you think I should make more videos, then give me a thumbs up. If you see room for improvement, just leave me a constructive comment. And happy to see you next time. Bye.